She's tremendous. They just don't have a quarterback. They do. That is legitimately an anchor right now.
I almost brought it up in the Coach of the Year conversation. If Arthur Smith somehow makes the playoffs with Desmond Ridder at quarterback, 10-1 right now for Coach of the Year, he absolutely deserves it, because that is one of the few quarterbacks in the league that we've seen have questions about his abilities just be handed the starting role on a team that's expected to win. I've never seen a player of his caliber just be handed the reins to a franchise that thinks they're contending for the playoffs. He cannot make throws when it matters. He cannot get you key third down conversions. He is one of the worst quarterbacks we've ever seen just get handed this job.
Guys, real quick, this is not an accurate way to necessarily gauge what a college quarterback is going to be at the next level, but I'm going to point out two quarterbacks in success abilities we saw in the college football playoff. C.J. Stroud looked like the best player among a professional game between Georgia and Ohio State, and Desmond Ridder was the anchor, and I love that word choice you used, Patrick, against Alabama. There were some throws that were there to be made and had, and he missed them. This guy is not a starting quarterback in the National Football League.
And I agree with both of you. Here's what I would say about Arthur Smith. I think it's his hubris. He picked Ridder because I think he thought he could scheme around him.
Yeah.
You have to factor that in, big guy, because I think he thought, give me a basic quarterback like Ridder, I'll scheme around him with my rush attack, and it's not, he is that bad. He's legitimately that bad.
And I also think part of the reason they got rid of Mariota is he didn't want to have to do the dance back and forth. He's like, I just believe in me. Arthur Smith is looking in the mirror like, I believe in me and my ability. Just give me one of the guys, avoid the drama, and I'll do my best with this one person.
Two quick questions for you guys. Number one, I love another great word choice in terms of hubris. Is he like, hey guys, I've had Tannehill. I can win with anybody. Second, if Marcus Mariota...
And how's Tannehill been without him?
Yeah, exactly. He's been terrible. And if Marcus Mariota's the starter there right now, do we pick the Atlanta Falcons to win the division? I'm telling you right now, he's still better than Desmond Ridder.
Oh, yeah. I'm a Mariota guy, and I admit that I was a little off on him, but he is head and shoulders. Yeah, he's better than Ridder.
No, he's better than Ridder. No, but I don't know if they...
Heineke's better than Ridder.
Exactly. I don't know if they win the division, though. I still think the Saints are better.
Patrick's point is right.
Located in Applewood Estates in Boardman Township, the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club offers a pleasant family environment. Choose a membership that meets your needs and enjoy a relaxing venue that includes not only swimming for the family, but also youth activities such as competitive swimming, tennis, and more. Enjoy the friendly atmosphere all summer long with the staff and members of the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club. For more information, go to applewoodswimandtennis.com or call 330-953-2833.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
That's where it all begins, with the rich sports history that we have in the Valley. We're going to talk national, we're going to talk regional, but it all begins here at home. So that is where a lot of those topics and conversations that we have with you every Tuesday are going to come from.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at westernreserveradio.com on the Live 365 network and the Live 365 app.
Whether it's freshly laundered work apparel for almost any job imaginable, fire protection systems that are tested and inspected, first aid and safety supplies, floor mats, or cleaning tools and restroom products, stocked and ready when you need them. Better work days happen together, so visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Gas prices are high, but you can do something about it with Berryman. A car's dirty fuel system can result in hard starting, rough idling, hesitation, and reduced fuel economy. And while many products promise to clean an engine's fuel system, only one uses high-energy solvent technology. Berryman B12 Chem-Tool Fuel Injector Cleaner Treatment. Berryman's powerful Hess formula cleans the entire fuel system. Get every mile out of every drop. Get Berryman B12 Chem-Tool Fuel Injector Cleaner Treatment at your auto parts retailer and BerrymanProducts.com.
Wake up call! Marty Lyons joins us, Jets Radio Network, also played for the Jets on the infamous New York Sack Exchange. As somebody who played at a time where artificial turf is different than artificial turf today, that was rougher, is that a legitimate complaint?
Tony, I think everybody's going to complain when you have an injury. And just look at the Jets field at MetLife. If it was natural grass, the night before, you had the Giants playing the Cowboys in a torrential downpour. So the field would have been flooded. You had rain prior to the Jets game. against Buffalo. The field would have been a total mess. I don't think the field had anything to do with Aaron blowing out his Achilles. When you get a little bit older, your muscles don't stretch as much as they do. People forget that Aaron had a calf injury during training camp, but I think people are going to blame the turf, but I don't think the turf in this situation had anything to do with it.
Wake Up Call with Tony V and Ron Culver. Weekdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
First Name Sports with Greg Frank.
You can feel bad for Aaron Rodgers and also laugh at Jets fans today. I'm telling you that both of those emotions are fair emotions to exist. Again, maybe a sobering reminder. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. Don't be putting your team already in the playoffs in a loaded AFC or already thinking that you could be in the AFC Championship game or even the Super Bowl when your franchise has been nothing but a mess for over a decade.
First Name Sports, weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern.
Wake up calls.
By the way, the Patriot throwback uniforms looked great.
Yes, they did.
I love them. I really love them.
You know what? I am ashamed to admit this. It didn't dawn on me that was the throwback logo.
That is a rather bold statement.
It is.
Because the Patriots have been on TV nationally for 20 years. Wow, that is amazing.
Isn't
Just
it?
a couple of years removed from the Brady era, you forgot what their logo looks like. That's crazy.
Maybe it was like seeing an old friend and you just didn't think twice about it. It just seemed natural.
Let me just point the reference. Ron from Southern Cal.
Yes.
Always reminds you that he's from Southern Cal. I don't watch Monday Night Football at night. I watch it at dinner. I roll out of bed and get my football. Is claiming that the old Patriots logo that has not been used on a consistent basis for 30 years is an old friend. That's awesome.
Wake Up Call with Tony V and Ron Culver. Weekdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
This is Ernie Johnson Jr. Sports is about overcoming obstacles, and college coaches work hard to help young men overcome Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It's called Coach to Cure MD, and you can help. Text the word CURE to 501-501 to donate $25 on your next mobile phone bill, or go online to coachtocuremd.org. Text the word CURE to 501-501. Help coaches cure MD.
Sponsored by the American Football Coaches Association. Texting and data rates may apply.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge, a part of the Sports Map Radio Network.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on Western Reserve Radio.
He's back. He steps up. He's looking. Still looking. Has time. Lets it go. And it is complete. Touchdown!
The call on Eagles Radio and Monday night's 25-11 win at Tampa. Jalen Hurts threw one touchdown pass and ran for another. The defending NFC champs off to a 3-0 start.
Burrow gives to Mixon. Joe finds room up the middle. He runs into the end zone. Nice. Touchdown!
The call on Bengals Radio 19-16 in the win over the Rams on Monday night. Joe Burrow got the start. Despite dealing with a calf injury, he threw for 259 yards. The Bengals sacked Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford 6 times. Logan Wilson picked him off twice. Stafford 18 of 39, 269 yards. Both teams 1-2 with the result. For lightning fast updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of North America's most popular sports apps. That's the Sports Flash. Chuck Sanders, Western Reserve Radio.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
Get the one and done you want for your dog's monthly protection. New NexGard Plus, Avoxalan or Moxidectin, and Pyrantel chewable tablets. NexGard Plus chews protect against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms, all with one delicious beef-flavored soft chew. Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Diarrhea, vomiting, lethargy, and itching may be seen. Ask your vet about new NexGard Plus chews.
Shining Stars Dance and Baton in Niles, Ohio is home to state, regional, national, and international world champions. They offer a wide variety of classes for ages 2.5 and up for boys and girls. Celebrating over 31 years in business, the excellent staff of instructors will help take your baton twirling skills to the next level.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
This is Matt Lipsack, the voice of the Youngstown Phantoms, and your home for Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Come out to the 36 beautiful hole design course by Donald Ross, and golf lessons are available by calling the team shop at 330-740-7112. Don't forget about family fun nights on Friday and Saturday evenings, a family of 4 with cart for only $25. Or visit the Wick Recreation Area and the lighted Par 3 course. Book your tee time today at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Located in Applewood Estates in Boardman Township, the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club offers a pleasant family environment. Choose a membership that meets your needs and enjoy a relaxing venue that includes not only swimming for the family, but also youth activities such as competitive swimming, tennis, and more. Enjoy the friendly atmosphere all summer long with the staff and members of the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club. For more information, go to applewoodswimandtennis.com or call 330-953-2833.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Meet Josh.
Hi, everybody.
Josh is a high school basketball player, solid shooter, great teammate.
Hey, don't forget my tenacious D.
And he's my son.
Oh.
So, what does Josh do to be the best basketball player he can be?
I play tennis.
Studies show that student athletes here in Ohio who play more than one high school sport are more likely to excel. Tennis does more than improve Josh's conditioning. It gives him a fresh competitive outlet, reduces the risk of injury by cross-training, and introduces him to different coaching techniques and new friends.
Don't get me wrong, hoops are my first love. Tennis just gives me a little break.
So when the new season begins, Josh isn't burned out on basketball. He's eager to play, and you can see the difference in his game.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
This is Everett Fitzhugh, Radio Voice.
Welcome in. It is time for another episode of By All Means right here on Western Reserve Radio and airing later on to Sports Radio 1240 WBBW. By All Means, Season 4, Episode 31, presented by Mill Creek Golf Course. Visit millcreekmetroparks.org for more information. Going to start today's show off by going right to the phones, and we are pleased to be joined by the voice of the Buckeyes. Paul Keels is on the phone with us. Paul, thanks for a few minutes of your time.
Glad to do it, Mark. Thanks for asking.
So I definitely appreciate you coming on and joining the show. I want to start with just asking, from week 1 now to week 4 being completed, how have you seen this Buckeyes team improve?
Well, in a number of different ways, but also looking still for more improvement. I think we've seen them get experience for a quarterback who is a first-time starter in Kyle McCord, excluding one game that he started 2 years ago when C.J. Stroud sat out with a shoulder injury. I think we've seen a new offensive line, replacing 3 starters from last year, kind of come together and grow as a group. Still more improvement needed there, but they've gotten their feet wet. And I think we've seen a defensive group that is working in the second year under coordinator Jim Knowles, getting more familiar with his system and working really at trying to limit some of the explosive plays that they gave up last year. So we've seen a lot of improvement, most of it just kind of what naturally comes with getting a season started and playing against somebody other than practicing against your teammates during summer camp. But most notably, seeing how they played against Notre Dame, easily the most talented opponent that they've seen all year, being able to survive that challenge, survive a big road challenge. That was a big step for this football team.
As a casual observer looking at that quarterback competition, it really did seem like when McCord was named the starter prior to the third game of the season, he came out and kind of seemed to play freer, knowing that he had won that job. Do you really feel like that helped him take that big jump 2 weeks ago?
I think that was probably part of it, and that's just guessing, but also just getting more and more opportunity to play. One of the things they wanted to do in the first 2 weeks was get both Kyle McCord and Devin Brown some opportunities because, Kyle, even though it's his third year in a program and he had started one game against Akron a couple of years ago, he really was basically just coming in, replacing C.J. Stroud when games were at hand. But getting an opportunity on the road at Indiana when really the game was, I won't say in doubt, but the game was being contested all the way up till partway through the fourth quarter was a big part of his growth. And then just getting the continual reps working, with a new center, working with two new offensive guards, but then fitting in with the receivers and the running backs. I think that was a big part of it. Being named the starter going forward certainly seemed to have a lot to do with it. And really, when you look at how he performed in the fourth quarter of the Notre Dame game, that really showed you that it was a great learning tool for him about how to survive when things maybe aren't going well and focus on what's coming up next.
As Buckeyes fans, we know how good Emeka Egbuka is as a wide receiver, but do you think the way he stepped up and made plays against Notre Dame when they needed big catches really took his exposure nationally to another level?
I think it may have, but, I think people who've watched college football closely, watched the Big Ten closely, and watched Ohio State have kind of known that he is as much of a threat, close to as much of a threat as Marvin Harrison is. And, let's also remember, too, that in that game, there were some big catches made by Cade Stover and Julian Fleming and one real big one by Xavier Johnson also. So certainly Emeka Egbuka's stock has risen. The attention that Marvin Harrison draws certainly helps him, and it helps the other guys when it comes to the opportunities that may be out there for them.
When you look at your career and the games that you have called, I'm just curious if you have whether it be Notre Dame last week or so, what is one of your favorite road stadiums to call a game from?
One of them is one we don't get to see all that often anymore, and it's Wisconsin, Camp Randall Stadium. It's such an incredible atmosphere. For a stadium that's an older one, they've tried to modernize it a little bit. I think when you see the student outpouring of support that they get there, it's a stadium that when they do their jump around thing they do between the third and the fourth quarter, that stadium shakes. You can feel it in the press box. It kind of sits in a neighborhood as well as with the campus surrounding. So that's one of the ones that is always a good one to see. It's a raucous atmosphere. It's tough for opposing teams. It can be tough for opposing fans. But, seeing Notre Dame, which I had not seen Notre Dame Stadium since the late 80s, that was a great experience. But as far as one in the Big Ten that we see somewhat regularly, I would have to say Camp Randall Stadium at Wisconsin.
I'm just curious, from a broadcasting perspective, you're in such massively big stadiums, then I assume you're, quite a distance away from the field. How challenging is that for a broadcast? And what do you do in a case like that?
Well, sometimes it's not so much, Mark, the distance away from the field. It's where you're located. When we get to some of the NFL stadiums for bowl games or playoff games, oftentimes you're in the corner of the end zone. So it kind of creates a little bit of a challenge. Ohio Stadium is probably one of the furthest away from the field that we're in. So what a lot of announcers have started to do, and including myself, is using binoculars and especially getting some wide angle binoculars to follow every play, because in some places you either are so far away or you're at an odd angle that sometimes it takes that type of assistance to really be able to follow what's going on, to sometimes identify the players that are in there, to pick up things like loose balls and interceptions. It's a little bit of a challenge, but it comes with the territory, and it's certainly an enjoyable challenge to have every weekend during the fall.
I assume a lot of fans assume maybe some announcers work off the monitor. Is that even possible? Is it even timed up enough that you could do something like that?
No, it's not. At least from the monitors we get, it's not, because generally the TV feed is behind the live action. The folks here at our flagship station were telling me the other night, With the Notre Dame game, the radio call and what was going on was about 2 plays ahead of what was on TV. So it really isn't helpful unless somebody, unless you've got some real good connections to get a live feed from the programming truck. But, I think that the issue with that also is what happens if a camera gets faked out. And it's easy for that to happen at times. So, and I'll also say to you, Mark, we had to do that during the pandemic when we weren't allowed to travel to road games. So I had enough of that during 2020.
When you kind of take us through a typical week for you getting prepared for a game, I'm just curious, how much time goes into studying and preparing and get ready? Obviously, the Ohio State roster, but just getting ready for a broadcast in a given week.
That's most of the work is what goes on during the week getting ready for it. Putting together the game chart that you use. And all announcers do a different type of chart. You kind of learn how to do what fits your own needs over the course of years of doing this. But, the week starts with usually Monday morning. I get an opportunity to meet with Coach Day for about 10 minutes or less to record a series of daily show interviews that run during the week on our network stations. Then we have a 2-hour radio show on our network we do that covers Ohio State football, as well as the regular responsibilities I have for our radio station here in Columbus. Tuesday press conference with Coach Day. We have a Thursday call-in show. It's not a call-in show anymore. We don't take calls. We solicit social media questions with Coach Day. So there's a lot of time that goes into studying the roster of the opposing team, going over game notes, updating stats. And the other thing, Mark, that I do, if possible, and it's not always possible with certain non-conference schools, and that is to get a video recording of the previous game for the upcoming opponent, whether it's something you get off of YouTube or whether if I DVR it at home, just to be able to watch that team. And I'll probably watch their previous game 4 to 5 times a week just to get more familiar with players, names, numbers, substitution patterns, things like that. So I tell people what it is it's like studying for a test in school, except in many cases you're able to have your notes with you.
Besides yourself and obviously your partner and Jim Lachey, I'm just curious, how much else is going on in the booth on any given Saturday besides just you two working together calling the game?
A lot. And a lot of it starts before Saturday. So we have an engineer that sets up all of our equipment, Colin Behringer, not only the equipment that's in our booth, but the equipment that's in the locker rooms for the interviews that we do in our postgame show. We have our executive producer, Skip Mossick, who organizes all of our live commercial reads, who coordinates what goes on with when we take timeouts, when we have scoreboard updates, watching what goes on with a red hat on the field, who signals the media timeouts. We have a statistician by the name of DR Railsback, who not only does the stats, but he also goes into the locker room after the game and takes care of coordinating, playing all of the interviews we get, whether they're live or recorded. For the home games, we have a spotter who stands behind me and assists with pointing out defensive tackles. That's something we don't have on the road. And then, of course, we have our sideline announcer, Matt Andrews, who's down on the field. So there's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of, I don't want to say gesturing and arm waving and things like that, but it's a very, very busy booth. But I don't think that's uncommon for a lot of people who do the same thing.
I don't feel like the average fan realizes when they put the radio on to hear the game just how much time, effort, and work goes into hearing that broadcast on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, if that's the case, then that means we've done our job. Then all they're doing is thinking about the football game and keeping up with what's going on with the players, the scores, and the time and things like that. So probably not, but that's okay. What our hope is that they don't notice those things, that there's not any technical problems. There's nothing that takes the listener's attention away from what's going on the field.
We mentioned before we went on the air that this is a bye week. You said bye weekend, so I'm assuming there's still those responsibilities you talked about this week. But will you, on a weekend where you don't have a game, do you still watch and follow, or is it one to kind of just separate for a little while and enjoy the time off?
Some of both, Mark, and we still will have our coaches show on Thursday with Coach Day. We still have our daily show obligations, but then it allows me the opportunity to have a 3-day weekend and be able to kind of live life like a normal person for a little bit, be a fan and turn on and watch some college football or listen to it on the radio. Be a chance to get out and hit the golf ball a little bit for the final time on Saturday and catch up with some guys that I don't get a chance to do that with an awful lot. Spend some time at home just hanging out and enjoying home. So it's also kind of a nice break before we get into what starts to be the craziest time of the year for us, because the end of October, basketball starts up, and we get the overlap of Ohio State football and Ohio State basketball. The month of November is the craziest for us with all of that going on. So it is kind of a nice chance to be able to take a deep breath and relax and get ready for what is a fun but a crazy time of the year.
That actually kind of led me to my next question. When do you start, with the free time that you may have with football, when do you start preparing and getting ready for basketball to be on top of it?
Well, it's funny you ask, because I probably will get a chance later this week to go watch one of the first few practices that the basketball team will have. And then probably by middle of October, I'll really start focusing in. I know there's an exhibition game that they're going to play at the University of Dayton on the Saturday after the Penn State football game. So probably a good week or so before that, start studying more about what's going on with basketball, getting familiar with the newer players that have come in for Coach Holtman.
And, of course, with the week off this week, we've got Maryland coming up in 2 weeks. I was just curious your thoughts on the Terrapins and what Tagovailoa has done leading that offense.
Well, the funny thing, Mark, we've talked about this on some of our shows. It's a similar story for Maryland. They usually get off to a good non-conference start. Depending on who they start Big Ten play with, they're playing very well, and they are this year. And by a lot of accounts, they're a better defensive team than they've been in the past few years. But, once the middle of the Big Ten schedule starts, they start seeing the likes of Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. How do they fare through all of that? It's a good possibility that when they come to Columbus, they could be undefeated. And that could make for a big matchup a week from Saturday here in Ohio Stadium. So Taulia Tagovailoa certainly has been a big shot in the arm for that program. They've got, some really good receivers, some experienced defensive players, and Coach Loxley has had a great reputation. So I think we're all anxious to see how Maryland gets to. They've got Indiana this week, and then how they get through everything else.
And you mentioned defense, so I'll end with asking you this. It's the second year for the new defensive coordinator, and it seems like the defense has really taken a big leap forward. Is there a specific area you think that has really shown that much improvement for this defense to have played so well?
I think to this point, what we've seen is they've really limited the explosive plays that they gave up at the end of the year last year. Now, most of that came against Michigan and against Georgia, the two most talented teams they saw last season. They were able to limit some of those against Notre Dame and really defensively be able to make the plays they needed to at the most important time. I think it's been a combination of being familiar with Coach Knowles' system. I think players being more experienced and getting older, and them getting more of a handle on who they want on the field. But we saw this past week at Notre Dame, you didn't see as much of a rotation on the defensive line that maybe we've seen in the past. I think you've seen players like Lathan Ransom and Josh Proctor really start to grow and become better football players because of their experience. You're seeing Denzel Burke play healthy and play as well as he did 2 years ago. And we're seeing those flashes of Jack Sawyer and Jalen Tuimoloau play at a high level. So I think it's a combination of experience, guys living up to the moment, getting more familiar with what Coach Knowles wants them to do, and Coach Knowles being more familiar with their abilities.
Paul, I appreciate a few minutes of your time. Enjoy your weekend off. I know you'll jump right back into it next week with Maryland. And again, I appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day to join us today. Thank you.
My pleasure, Mark. Glad to do it.
That was the voice of the Buckeyes, Paul Keels, joining us on the phone. And I can't imagine, having multiple sport responsibilities within the same time frame, the same month, because getting ready for a football game and getting ready for a basketball game are so vastly different, no matter what level you're calling a game on. And I'm sure that is absolutely a challenge, even for somebody like Paul Keels, who is a veteran of calling games for Ohio State football and Ohio State basketball. Also want to thank my friend Skip Mossick, who he mentioned in this interview, for helping set up our interview with Paul Keels. We definitely appreciate Skip setting this up for us. We'll take a break. We will come back. We'll have a little twist on what's trending up next here on By All Means.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Mill Creek Golf Course is the host venue for the AJGA PGA Hope Program, 8 high school teams, and 2 collegiate teams. Mill Creek Golf Course is your Callaway certified golf club fitting facility. It was named the PGA of America's National Merchandiser of the Year for a public facility 2022. Book your tee time at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Accidents happen. That's why you need Repair That Glass. Specializing in windshield replacement and all other auto glass, we offer a full range of automotive glass repairs. Our technicians can do everything from minor chip repair to a complete replacement. Your windows don't go up or down, they can fix that too, along with custom glass work and antiques. Repair That Glass is a family-run business for over 40 years. Repair That Glass. Call for your appointment now at 330-534-3192.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
By all means, continues right here on Western Reserve Radio. A big thank you to Paul Keels for joining us to talk Ohio State football. As I'm trying to get this interview prepared, but the mouse just doesn't want to seem to cooperate. So what we will have for you coming up is we are going to have an excerpt from today's YSU football press conference, as we heard earlier today. Of course, that would have been Doug Phillips talking to the media. And let's check in with that interview right now.
Coach, I guess we'll start with, the non-conference is over. Just the excitement of playing, opening the conference on the road.
Well, when you put a plan together, and this is year 4 of playing in this conference, you get excited because you tried to put a plan together. And in this conference, you better win up front, whether it's on the offensive line and defensive line. And to see how we've grown in a year since we last played, I think it was, November 18th, against a league opponent, and see, did we get any better up front? Because we're playing against a blue blood. Northern Iowa, they playoffs, league champs, they've been there, they've recruited well, they've developed offensive linemen, they get drafted, so for us 2 years ago when we went in there, it wasn't even close, and just to see the growth that we made, and excited to see that on Saturday.
Coach, Northern Iowa is one of a handful of teams that play in a dome stadium. As a team that plays outdoors, what are some of the things that you work on in practice to get ready for a domed stadium?
Well, fortunately for us, we got our own little dome in the Watts Center, and we spent a lot of time there in the spring football. We don't get great weather in the spring, so we're in there a lot. We went in there today, and provides us just to deal with the elements. Their crowd can get you. I think we started the last time we played there, the ball was on the 1 or 2 yard line coming out, and we probably had an offside. So, working on those pre-snap penalties, that maybe the crowd noise, because the crowd noise there will be louder than Ohio State. So to be able to go into our own indoor and be able to work the crowd noise and be able to work that communication with our guys so that you can eliminate the miscommunication that can happen. Now, when our defense is on the field, it's quiet. I could probably talk to the person across the field 10 rows up, So the defense kind of hates it when we do crowd noise because it's quiet on the field when they're playing. But, they understand the importance for us of just being able to execute in that type of environment.
How important would you say Saturday is opening up conference play on the road?
I mean, every game's important. I mean, I'm going to be forthright. Every game is important. But this is what you work for. We don't work for the non-league. The non-league, we kind of figure out who we are. But when these kids started January 8th and we're in the weight room and spring football, it's to play this schedule, no matter who you're playing. Okay, people can say, well, you're at North. In this league, you got to have your mindset ready to play each and every Saturday. And again, it evaluates the plan that you put together. Do you have the horses up front? Do you have the skill positions in the secondary and at wide receiver? Do you have the quarterback that can lead you? And you're recruiting. Everything you do is to prepare for this league. And I love it when they say pressure is a privilege. And so I hope our kids feel pressure because it's a privilege because there's expectations on them from not only their teammates, from their coaching staff. So for me, every Saturday is going to be a pressure-packed game, and we take that as a privilege, and you got to thrive in those situations.
But I know it's just talk, but obviously, why she was not one there. Most of these kids weren't even born last night. Did you talk about that?
Yeah, you talk just that. That tells you it's a difficult place to go play and win. I'm sure there's games where YSU had the opportunity to win and didn't finish. You look at the college football landscape, or you even watch NFL, which we never get time to. On a bye week, yeah, you might have saw end of a drive here or there. And it's inches. It's about teams getting one more first down and not putting their defense back on the field to win or lose a football game. It's about time management. It's about everything comes down to that fourth quarter, every situation. And you try to check your boxes. You try to have that football IQ and to understand that when you get in a game, there's going to be different things that happen. How do you handle when everything's not going right? I told you I wanted to evaluate our kids these first 3 games when things don't go right on the field, because really that's their true character. We're able to see that. And there's a lot of things we had to clean up since we played Robert Morris. Had to clean up penalties, had to clean up our pass defense. We have to clean up that we got to affect the quarterback offensively. The pre-snap penalties. We got to be able to sustain drives. We got to score in the red zone. We got to complete balls downfield. Those are the things that you continually to work at. And what's fun about football, it just takes one guy. You play with 11, it takes one guy in the field to have a miscommunication, not do his job, and it's not a good play. And so you work and practice each and every day so that when you get to Saturday, it all comes together, offense, defense, and special teams. And I've yet to see that. I told you that last year. I've yet to see that from our young men, who I'm proud of and I love. But I've yet to see us put together 4 quarters of football where we see offense, defense, and special teams all playing complementary football. And that's always the goal of the head coach. Our guys play with great effort, and I'm proud of that.
Coach, you mentioned pass defense. How important is it to get Quincy Lenton back in the lineup?
I think Quincy's a leader. He's 2-time captain. His leadership out there, his demeanor, how he prepares for a game, for us. And I'm proud of how he handled it. It's not easy sitting on the sidelines when you're completely healthy and can't play a football game. And I'm proud of how he handled it. He came down, got Scout Team Player of the Week, was able to help those younger guys understand the importance, for us to win. Everybody in this program is as important as the guy that's starting. And that starts with your scout team, that starts with trainers, that starts with, and our kids are understanding that it's bigger than you, that everything that you go out on the field on a given practice day. And that's where a guy like Quincy has helped develop that and what he does in that locker room. So for me, I'm excited to see one back on the field. And for us, it helped because we had to move a lot of different pieces. I mean, we moved Troy Jakubek, played corner. He played 56 snaps or whatever against Ohio State, playing safety and corner. Well, now he can just focus on corner. Jalen Castleberry moving from safety to corner to Sam linebacker. We're moving a lot of pieces, but in the long run, it gave those kids a better understanding, a higher football IQ, that we can move those guys around if needed, but it just now solidifies our safety with the guys we rotate at safety and who we rotate at corner and who we rotate at Sam.
You can just talk about what you've seen on film from you and I, and what impressed you the most about them.
Yeah, well coached, 23 years. Mark Farrell, he's a great coach. I think he got his 175th win, a couple weeks ago, I think. I thought I saw that. But great coach, great program. They win. They send guys to the NFL. They're a developmental program, so they know how to get guys and get them big, get them strong. You give them a bye week, they're going to be ready. I think his record after a bye week's 14-6. So that tells you they have great coaches. Again, big, physical, okay, and they play mistake-free football. He'll be the first one to say when they don't have success, just like some of us, when we don't have success, you either have penalties or you're turning the ball over. And they work each and every day to make sure they don't do those things.
You and I quarterback POJ, the guy who played a lot of football. Mm-hmm. And, what have we seen from him on the film that you guys have to kind of do in order to slow down his attack?
He's high sufficient quarterback last year, and he can make every throw. He can be on his back foot, flip the wrist on this hash, and hit a guy right over the shoulder. Kind of remind me of Levis from Kentucky, where you got great coverage on him. You're running side by side, and that ball just comes right to the open shoulder. And I think he can make all those throws. He's experienced, and he's a pocket guy. He can get out, he can run, but he wants to throw the ball downfield. And they got great receivers. Sam Schneed's a big time receiver for him who has great speed. So they're explosive in that category.
Do you feel your team is kind of refreshed? I mean, I know it's an open week. From last week they had an open week, but can you kind of sense
they better wake up running every day, Dana? Refresh. What? This is an 11-week ride. They better wake up, and they have their days where they get off, and each and every day I always say you better be running. To say that you're going to be 100% during the course, no. You're going to be sore, you're going to beat up, and guess what? You got to get yourself ready to play. For me, a bye week, I'm more of routine. I'd rather just keep playing.
That is YSU head coach Doug Phillips as the Penguins prepare to go to the House of Horrors, where they have not won in a very long time at Northern Iowa in the Unidome this Saturday. One thing real quick before we head to break. Congratulations to former Harding running back K'Ron Lynch Adams, who now plays for UMass. He led the Minutemen in rushing in their 34-31 overtime win over New Mexico. K'Ron Lynch Adams carried the ball 26 times for 97 yards and a touchdown. Always great to see our local guys doing well at the next level. Of course, he had some time at Rutgers. Now he is playing at UMass for the Minutemen football program. We're going to switch sports now. We are going to talk to the voice of the Youngstown Phantoms because they have a special night coming up on Saturday. And we're going to have Matt Lipsack tell you all about the specials that they're going to have. $5 tickets, tailgate party in the lot before they open up the arena for the banner raising ceremony. He's going to let you know all about those festivities. And of course, that game can be heard here Saturday, right here on Western Reserve Radio. We will be right back.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Come out to the 36 beautiful hole design course by Donald Ross, and golf lessons are available by calling the team shop at 330-740-7112. Don't forget about family fun nights on Friday and Saturday evenings, a family of 4 with cart for only $25. Or visit the Wick Recreation Area and the lighted par 3 course. Book your tee time today at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Whether you are a professional football champion or a fantasy football champion, Martusio Chiropractic is the place to recover from all your sports injuries. Proudly serving Trumbull County, Martusio Chiropractic is located at 369 Niles Cortland Road in Warren. Martusio Chiropractic accepts most insurance plans, now accepting new patients and offering some same-day appointments. For more information or to make an appointment, call Martusio Chiropractic at 330-856-9595.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you can miss a lot.
To the radio play-by-play voice and our buddy back from here at Youngstown, it is the voice Fitz. Everett Fitzhugh. My friend, how are you?
Man, it feels good to hear your voice again, Mark. Everything's going well, and definitely excited to be back on the airwaves briefly for here in Youngstown.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
This is Everett Fitzhugh, the radio voice of the NHL Seattle Kraken. And when I want to catch up with Youngstown sports, I tune in to Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
And welcome back. By All Means continues right here on Western Reserve Radio, brought to you by our friends at Mill Creek Golf Course. Visit millcreekmetroparks.org to book your tee time while you still have a chance this fall and heading into winter. Time to change up sports. Go back to the phones. Our friend Matt Lipsack, voice of the Youngstown Phantoms, is on the other end of the phone. And I know you already got 2 games in so far, Lipper, but are you excited to get back behind the headset?
Absolutely, Mark. You know, the few weeks of football that I got to do did not warm me up for hockey. Hockey is a completely different animal, and it was great to be down at the UPMC Lemieux Sports Complex this past week. But I am just itching to get back to the Covelli Center in front of our home fans here in Youngstown, and can't wait to see the fans put on a show this weekend.
So before we look ahead, let's look back at the championship season. What were some of your highlights, your favorite moments of winning the Clark Cup?
Well, I've got to say that, you know, obviously getting to play an outdoor hockey game, super cool. Getting to play an outdoor hockey game in an NFL stadium, even cooler. The Browns were a first-class organization to work with from top to bottom. And it was an absolute pleasure to be able to get to go up to the Cleveland Classic there on February the 23rd and take down the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders by the score of 4-1. knocking out the Chicago Steel, who've kind of been a thorn in the Phantom's side for the past few years. They've been the team kind of running the Eastern Conference, being able to knock them out of the Eastern Conference final and get back to the Clark Cup final. That was a high point for sure. And then obviously just a stellar performance by Jacob Fowler in net in Game 3 in the Clark Cup final. A 22-save shutout to clinch the first Clark Cup championship for Youngstown. Just getting to see the growth of that young team throughout the season, watching Ryan Ward in his first year in the USHL apply his trade and, really turning that group from, a bunch of kids into a group of young men in a well-oiled hockey machine was something to behold.
Now we turn our attention towards this season, and you mentioned the game, a couple games in Cranberry last week, and didn't go the way we were hoping, either one of them. But as you look early on in this season, what have you seen from this new group of Phantoms?
Well, Mark, I guess to start off with, the goaltending in those two games in Cranberry was absolutely outstanding. Owen Bartoskevich, who is back from the University of Minnesota. The two goals that he gave up in the opener against Tri-City, he wasn't going to do anything to stop either one of them. The puck was basically passed into the net. And then, I know Colin Wynn gave up 5 in the Thursday game, but again, really, he was put in bad positions there on Thursday afternoon. So really the goaltending was outstanding. And then I guess just the other takeaway was, there are a couple of takeaways. The defensive core, I think, is going to put up a lot of scoring numbers this year, led by Andrew Strathman, Sasha Bamidian, Tomasz Machu, Torrey Pittner. Those guys, I think, are going to put up some scoring numbers this year. Andrew Strathman is going to break a few Phantoms career scoring records this year. And then I guess the other takeaway is the Phantoms, again, are just one of the youngest teams in the USHL this year. I think the second youngest team behind the Chicago Steel by maybe 30 days or something like that. I think the Phantoms averaged 17.8 years old. I think the Steel, I think they averaged 17.5 or something like that. And then Team USA, because they have, a bunch of kids who are playing in their U17 year, they kind of bring down that average of the team. So I'm not going to count them when I'm looking at, the youngest teams in the USHL. But, the youth of the Phantoms and the lack of USHL experience did kind of show this past weekend. But I'm sure Ryan Ward will put them through a productive week of practice this past week, and we should see much better results Saturday at the Cavelli Center.
Speaking of Saturday, it's a full day of events at the Cavelli Center leading up to the banner raising and the dropping of the puck.
Absolutely. I want to start off with $5 tickets. You can call the Phantoms box office to get those 330-747-PUCK. That's 330-747-7825. $2 pints as well. I believe they do those up to halfway through the second period. And then before the game, there's a tailgate party going on. I believe that's starting at about 3 o'clock and goes up until, I think, 6 o'clock when the gates open. And I believe there are going to be food trucks and cornhole and a whole bunch of activities going on outside the arena down at the Cavelli Center. And of course, the game, puck drops at about 7:05.
So this will be an interesting weekend for you. I'm assuming it's your first football followed by hockey broadcast back to back.
Well, I guess, last week was hockey, football.
Right.
This one is going to be football on Friday and then hockey on Saturday. Yeah.
So what has been your first year behind the headset doing high school football? What's it been like so far?
It's been amazing. Matt Emsch is awesome to work with over there on CityView Sportscast, calling the Mineral Ridge High School Rams. Head coach Brian Shaner is a pleasure to work with. Getting to watch Ian Erb is a treat. He is a special kid up there, number 14 for the Rams. He's got, I think, over 700 yards rushing, 16 rushing touchdowns. He has, I think, 19 of Mineral Ridge's 26 total touchdowns. And the defense by defensive coordinator Chet Allen has also put on a show up there for the Rams. They've got Matthews this weekend, and then I believe it's Springfield the weekend after that, and then Western Reserve and McDonald to wrap up the season. So it's a gauntlet a little bit there coming up for the Rams after just falling to Louisville this past weekend.
I find it interesting coming up on Friday. I mean, that was a tough loss to Louisville. You take a Matthews Mustangs team this weekend. They just picked up their first win last week, but they've struggled. Springfield put up 70 or 71 on them when they played a few weeks ago. And no matter what sport it is, you never want to face a team that's motivated by coming up on the short end of things the previous week.
Absolutely. And hopefully, Mineral Ridge can use this as a get right kind of football game and, really focus in because, I think they're in not the middle of the pack, but like the middle of the playoff rankings in Region 21 right now. So if they want to solidify that spot in the postseason, these next 3 weeks, I guess after this week, I'm looking past this week. I shouldn't do that. I'm sure Brian Shaner isn't doing that. Because, every single game is important, really the entire season. These are the fastest 10 weeks in sports. I was talking with Matt Emch, and we just cannot believe that, we're already past the halfway point of the season and just how quickly it is going past. This is the second to last home game for Mineral Ridge, too. I believe they have homecoming this weekend. They're on the road for 2. And then it's senior night against McDonald. So, where did the high school football season go, Mark?
You know what, that we talk about that on our games too. It is one of those where, we joke about it before the year begins. It's the fastest 10 weeks of the year because you turn around and you're like, okay, we're getting ready for the playoffs and seeing how many teams are getting in, how many make it to the top 8 that they can host in the first round, with the changes that the OHSAA made this year that all playoff games leading up to the state, I believe it's state semifinals, are going to be played on Friday nights. And that is a good and bad thing, at least from our perspective as broadcasters, because, like you and Jim, you guys cover one specific team. We do kind of a game of the week thing, but it limits the number of teams we are able to follow because we could, do some games Friday and Saturday night if there were playoff games on Saturday.
Absolutely. So, yeah, looking at my schedule, looking ahead, unfortunately, week 1 of the playoffs and then even week 2, I'm going to be with the Phantoms. They have home games on November the 3rd against Tri-City, and then the following weekend, I want to say against either Muskegon or Chicago. So unfortunately, senior night for McDonald, it could end up being my last weekend of the season calling high school football. I don't want it to be that way. I want to see Ridge end up over here near me in Canton come the end of the year.
If that is going to be your final broadcast, and hopefully we're able to work things out where it's not and the team is still playing, there's nothing like that rivalry between Mineral Ridge and McDonald. There's a lot of great rivalries across the valley and across the state, but these two towns are so close and so similar. It has always been one of my favorite games to watch in Week 10 or broadcast because it's almost like just one giant town that's gonna play each other on that Friday night, and there's a lot of emotion during that game.
And I'm looking forward to see Joe Lane Stadium just packed to the brim with Blue Devils and Rams fans. But we have a month to go before we get there, so many miles to go, Mark. First, like we said, Matthews this weekend. And then Springfield, I'm actually going to have to miss that game as well. Jim Craven will be on the call, and I believe Matt Emch is going to join him as well. I think we're going to have a simulcast. And then the Rams proceed to Western Reserve before we even get to McDonald. So just a lot of great football upcoming here for Mineral Ridge.
That's a tough finish, but that's also the potential for lots of computer points because McDonald is having a great year. Western Reserve also having a great year. They have Springfield this Friday night. So it's going to be interesting. With the 16 teams making the playoffs, we get so many 20 plus teams from our area that go to the postseason. I guess for a lot of teams, instead of worrying about getting in, it's can we get in that top 8? Can we play a first round game against at our home field in front of our home fans?
And right now, that's where Mineral Ridge is sitting. As the rankings, obviously came out earlier today. Ridge is sitting at number 8. Those level 1 points, kind of, unfortunately, those 2 losses where they're kind of suffering, but the level 2 points just because the quality of the teams that have beaten them and the teams that have been on their schedule. Obviously, they lost to Jackson Milton, who is 5-1. They lost to Lowellville, who I believe is also now 5-1. And, Lowellville will play all comers. Lowellville doesn't care. And then obviously, Mineral Ridge with Springfield on the schedule here in a couple of weeks. So, they can rack up the computer points, but you really want to rack them up with wins if you can.
Absolutely. If you cannot make it to the Covelli Center for the banner raising on Saturday night, and we hope you do, of course, we will have the call right here on Western Reserve Radio on Saturday night. Are we 6:40 or 6:45 on Saturday?
Probably going to be about 6:45. The post-game interview that we'll be playing during the pregame show ran a little short after the disappointing loss last Thursday. But, obviously still would love to have you either on the broadcast or at the Covelli Center. Again, $5 tickets, $2 pints. You can call the fans box office for tickets or more information, 330-747-PUCK. That's 330-747-7825.
Lipper, hoping to see you Saturday. I have a college football broadcast Saturday afternoon, and we will see how that goes, and that may determine my mood for the rest of my Saturday night.
Would love to have you in the press box anytime, Mark.
Matt Lipsack, voice of the Phantoms. We will talk to you again as we go throughout the season. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Have a great one.
So you can, of course, hear Matt on all the calls of the Phantoms games. And, of course, you can hear him with Matt Emsch over on City View Sportscast every Friday night. Well, hopefully more Fridays as we'll see how things go throughout the playoffs for the Rams. You get a good feeling that they will be playing in the postseason along with several other Valley teams, and we'll keep you updated on that as we go. Time to take our final break. We'll come back, and we'll wrap this one up here on By All Means.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Mill Creek Golf Course is the host venue for the AJGA PGA Hope Program, 8 high school teams, and 2 collegiate teams. Mill Creek Golf Course is your Callaway certified golf club fitting facility. It was named the PGA of America's National Merchandiser of the Year for a public facility 2022. Book your tee time at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
If you are seeking a skilled photographer in Northeast Ohio with experience in capturing documentary-style photographs for various occasions such as family events, weddings, graduations, sporting events, and other special occasions, look no further than Colleen Moore Photography. Accessible via ColleenMoorePhotography.com, or she can be reached at 330-314-7547.
Experience nature's bounty with Creations Backyard. Elevate your health with the most nutrient-dense foods on earth. From farm to table, sustainably cultivated with care. Grown locally in Niles, Ohio with no chemicals or synthetics ever. Unlock your culinary creativity with Creation Backyard Microgreens. Convenient local delivery and pickup options available. Order now at creationsbackyard.com or call 330-282-7208.
With over 30 years of experience, Madurix Butcher Block in Mineral Ridge is a quality-driven company focused on great personal service. Our fresh meats are of the finest cut. We make a variety of burgers, sausages, and a full line of deli meats. Using our own smokehouse, we prepare different types of jerky, snack sticks, kibasi, bacon, hot dogs, and bone-in hams. When your tummy needs some relief, call 652-BEEF. That's 330-652-2333.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you can miss a lot.
Mark, you're 100% right. He does not get enough credit around the league. Obviously, Coach Calhoun and the assistants and the rest of the players here at YSU know how valuable he is. He is right now their best player on the floor, hands down.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
Let's be real. The odds of a high school athlete getting a college scholarship and making it to the pros are pretty slim. Don't get me wrong. It's okay to dream of becoming a pro athlete, even a famous one. But that's not why I play. My reason why? I love the competition.
My reason why is community.
My reason why is leadership.
My reason why is to challenge myself.
My reason why is love for the game.
And hey, if we don't make it to the pros or onto the cover of Sports Illustrated, that's okay. Because there's every reason to believe we'll excel in something even bigger than sports. We'll excel in life.
There are lots of great reasons to play high school sports. Tell us your reason using the hashtag #MyReasonWhy.
This message presented by the NFHS and the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
This is Everett Fitzhugh, the radio voice of the NHL Seattle Kraken, and you're listening to the home of the Youngstown Phantoms, Western Reserve Radio.
As we wrap up tonight's By All Means here on Western Reserve Radio, brought to you by Mill Creek Golf Course. Programming reminder, high school football this weekend. Western Reserve Radio 1 at AM 600, WRQX 635 airtime. Jim Craven, Bob Gessler. Western Reserve at Springfield. That is a huge matchup Friday night. Western Reserve Radio 2, Sports Radio 1240. Myself and Dave Clark. Notice the change in schedule. We will have Poland and Niles at 640 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff. And the two Matts on City View Sportscast, 645. Matt Lipsack, Matt Amsch. They will have Matthews and Mineral Ridge. So those are our three games here on that we are going to have for you on the iMedia1 network coming up this weekend. Also want to thank our guest today, the longtime voice of the Buckeyes, Paul Keel, is joining us in segment number 1. We definitely appreciate him taking some time out this week to join us to talk Ohio State football. And you just heard from our friend Matt Lipsack, who not only calls high school games for us on City View Sportscast, but is the voice of the Youngstown Phantoms. They have their home opener on a Saturday night, 6:45 pregame. They'll drop the puck shortly after 7 as they raise the banner and celebrate the 2023 Clark Cup champions. $5 tickets, $2 pints, as he mentioned. 330-747-PUCK to get those tickets for Saturday night. If you can't make it, you can hear all the action right here on Western Reserve Radio, again, beginning at 6:45. So for producer, engineer, man of 1,000 tasks behind the scenes, Dave Ferris, and owner-operator Jim Craven, my name is Mark Means. Thank you for tuning in to the 31st episode of the season, the 151st episode overall of By All Means, heard right here on Western Reserve Radio. Mark Means, host of By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
Progressive presents